Hi, I'm Mike DeSimone.
And I'm Jeff Jenssen.
And together,
we're
the World Wine Guys.
As cheesy as that is.
That's right. And we are today helping you to celebrate Valentine's Day with the wines of Louis Jadot.
Actually, we're helping you get ready for Valentine's Day because we still have about a week. So, don't freak yet. But the idea is that you want to make some plans, for Valentine's Day. If you're going to invite somebody out, somebody special, you want to make sure that you really have this planned out. I love to go out to dinner. We love to go to restaurants. We live here in New York City. There are so many restaurants that we can go to. But one of my kind of pet peeves in the restaurant world is that they do this prefix thing for Valentine's Day.
Right. There's a restaurant you can go to the rest of the year. It's really nice. You have a good time. And all of a sudden you show up on Valentine's Day and they've got this one set menu. And there's a rose for the ladies, which is really lovely.
That's right. That $50 rose.
But I feel left out. And but it's really nice sometimes to just, stay home and relax and enjoy these really fun holidays like Valentine's Day.
Right.
And one of the wonderful things is you don't have to be in a relationship. You don't have to be with someone special to celebrate Valentine's Day.
Well, that's why we kind of call it Galentine's Day a little bit. The idea is that, you get together with your friends and, if your friends are guys and girls, we don't have to call it Galentine's Day. But
we could, I could be cheesy and call it Malentine's Day.
I think that's cheesy, Mike.
It is cheesy.
I don't think we should go there. But I think, one of the things that's really nice about getting together with your friends is getting together with a group of people that you're really comfortable with. You don't have to put on any airs, but you want to have good food and you want to have good wine. So that's why we love this Beaujolais Village. This is a wonderful Jadot wine. It's made from Gamay grapes, and it's not going to break the bank. What's it, like 13?
I think it's $14. It's $14. Yeah, so it's a $14 wine. So that is, we talk about, when we talk about wines, we talk about wines at, at different price points. A $14 wine is a really great wine for a party. If you're having we're going to talk about some more expensive special occasion wines for dinner for two. But if you're having people over, you're not going to open up $100 bottles of wine. You might not even want to open up $75 bottles of wine for a bunch of your friends.
Well, unless you got a really good tax return.
There we go.
That's always a nice thing to do. But most of us, who work every day and want to have a nice evening with our friends, a $14, $15 bottle of wine is a great place to go. Now, Gamay happens to be one of my favorite grapes. I love Pinot Noir. We're going to talk about that. Chardonnay. Mike and I were honored to be invited into the Confrérie
Chevalier de Testvan in Burgundy, and we're going to talk about the wines of Burgundy in a moment.
But Beaujolais is part of Burgundy. Some people will say that it's kind of like the stepsister or whatever, but Beaujolais is not the stepsister. Beaujolais is a real part of Burgundy. They just happen to use a different grape, so it's Gamay in this case. Well, why don't we give this we get this party started and
let's
give this
get
a
this
try.
party started.
If you're at home or at your desk, do us a favor. Send us a couple emojis, maybe a wine glass, maybe a smile. If you're at work, send us
Send us that little office building emoji that you never really want to use. You don't know what it's for. Let us know. Send us a heart, a red wine glass, and an office building emoji, so we know that you're watching us at work. You shouldn't be drinking at work.
Right,
but you
shouldn't
can certainly be planning your next wine outing.
Well, unless you're a waiter or a waitress or a bartender, you should be drinking at work then. Well, cheers.
There we go. Well, cheers.
Cheers. There we go. I really like this one. It's got a lot of fruit in it. It's very big, juicy, a lot of jam flavors. This is a really, really wonderful wine.
It is. It's a nice wine. And it's great to pair with simple party food. We have out today in front of us, we have this really nice spread. And again, this is a great idea for a party. You've got your Beaujolais Village wine.
Right.
And then, you don't have, again, it's a weeknight this year. You don't have to do a lot of work. You can get some charcuterie.
Stop at the grocery store.
Some soppressata, some pepperoni or chorizo, some prosciutto, a little bit of brie or camembert, goat cheese, cheddar, Gouda, something like that. If you're one of those people who likes to cook a little bit, I actually think panini. Basically, you take these things and you put them between slices of white bread and you put them in a frying pan and put something heavy on top.
Do we call that cooking? I think we might.
I think that's
in
cooking.
New York City. Okay.
I think if
because basically
in
panini,
New York, wait, in New York City, if you melt cheese on bread, you have just cooked. Okay, let's.
Well, I call it a grilled cheese where I come from, but
Well,
the
panini
fact is,
it's Italian for grilled cheese.
That's true. It is. So it's a really nice way to just get together with some friends. You know, open a bottle of this lovely Beaujolais Village from Jadot. And by the way, we're also, you know, we're on Facebook Live, as you know, today. But if you're watching us on Twitter or Instagram.
Right. Or basically, if you want to learn more about these wines, make sure, obviously, you're on the Love Jadot Facebook page right now. But certainly be sure also to follow Love Jadot on Twitter and on Instagram so that you can get, you know, kind of get the news, get ideas for wine pairings, recipes, and learn more about the wines of Louis Jadot. Let's talk a tiny bit about Beaujolais. Jeff had mentioned the grape is Gamay. One of the reasons we know so much about these grapes as the World Wine Guys is we are wine writers. We wrote a book that came out in October, and it's called Red Wine.
Right.
It covers 50 different red grapes and red blend styles. Gamay is one of those grapes. We're gonna, when we move down a little bit, we're gonna get to Pinot Noir.
Well, let me show you here in the book. I don't know if we can get a close-up over here, but Gamay is one of the grapes, one of the 50 grapes that we highlight in this book, and we made it really, really easy. You know, we have all this wonderful descriptions of Gamay over here on the right side, but on the left side, we made it very easy for people. We have little graph, a little sliding bar here for the color of the wine. And then we also have acidity, body, and tannins, and some tasting notes. You know, cherries and raspberries and tropical fruits sometimes you'll find in Gamay. But what does it pair with? We love pairing it with cheese. So, you know, that's one of the things that we did. Cheese, fruits,
It's a good thing
salads.
what we put out here matches what we put in the book.
Well, that's because Gamay does go with all
Right.
of those things. You know, we'll be having a little bit of Pinot Noir lately, a little bit later on in the program today, and we'll be talking about some of the things that Pinot Noir goes with. But that's a little bit down the road because we're going to talk about some wonderful Chardonnay grapes as well. But just, you know, to talk a little bit about Beaujolais Village. It's south of Beaune, which is kind of the center of Burgundy, and it's a really, really beautiful region. It's got some beautiful castles, some beautiful chateaus, beautiful vineyards, and it's really a nice place to go. I mean, we talked a little bit about Lyon as
Right,
well.
it's south of Lyon. So Lyon in France, you've got Burgundy region, then you've got the city of Lyon where all the great restaurants and some of the best French food comes from. And then south of that, you've got Beaujolais. And I think one of the things I just want to clear up real quickly is that a lot of people think of Beaujolais, they think of Beaujolais Nouveau.
That's right.
And
That's a
talk
shame.
about that wine, the fresh Beaujolais that we drink the third week in November.
With our Thanksgiving turkey.
Which is fresh. You know, it goes into the, it actually, you know, they make the wine, it goes into the tank, it immediately goes into a bottle.
Yes.
Beaujolais Village this is Beaujolais that spends a little bit more time in the tank. It is, you know, it's not going to be a super oaky. It's still a fresh, young wine, but this is a more sophisticated wine than that Beaujolais Nouveau that we all rush to drink that everyone talks about around Thanksgiving time.
And if you've got some time and you want to learn a little bit more about Beaujolais, there's some wonderful crus, you know, Moulin en Vente and some
Morgon. So these are the specific villages within the Beaujolais
So these are some things that you can learn. But again, start out small. You know, I like the Beaujolais Nouveau on the third Thursday of November. I'm not going to knock it, but it's not maybe the best example of wines coming from Beaujolais. A Beaujolais Village is a great place to start. This is a wonderful, wonderful wine. And what did we say? It was $14,
$14,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, so it's a really, really great value.
Can I take your glass away?
Yeah. I think
give
we're
you a new
ready.
one?
Should we move on to the Puy-Foussé?
Yes.
How about that?
So let's move on to Puy-Foussé. Now we've moved a little bit north. We've moved out of Beaujolais, and we're now actually we're in the south of Burgundy. And if you remember one thing about Burgundy, you should remember Burgundy is the original home of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. The wines that we're going to be talking about now. This is a Puy-Foussé from the south of Burgundy, which is a like an entry-level Burgundy from Chardonnay. An entry level.
I think it's
Chardonnay
a pretty good level
from Burgundy.
Right.
I think it's all mixed up, but
Well, one of the things that we have to keep reiterating about these Jadot wines is that they're well priced. You know, this is a really well priced wine. Certainly, you know, Mike says it might be an entry level. It's an entry level if you have $300 or $400 to get some of the wonderful Montrachets or Bienvenue Batard Montrachets, which are wonderful, wonderful Burgundies, and I love those. As long as somebody else is buying.
Right.
But that said...
But this is a more moderately priced
This is a wonderful...
I think it's about, off the top of my head, I think it's about $24.
Yeah, so this is a really, really super wine. Again, 100% Chardonnay. We talked a little bit about Gamay. The only other two wines or wine grapes that are allowed to be grown in Burgundy are Chardonnay and Pinot Noir. So, and Gamay is allowed to be grown in Beaujolais in the south of Burgundy. So these are the two main grapes. And now, you know, you can get Chardonnay from anywhere in the world. You can get Chardonnays from Chile, you can get Chardonnays from California, and they're wonderful wines. I'm not going to say anything bad about them, but what I am going to say is that Burgundy is the home of Chardonnay. And I do feel that it's grown best, you know, in that terroir.
And Louis Jadot is one of the finest producers. Actually, you know, talking about Valentine's Day, America loves Jadot. Louis Jadot is actually the #1 French wine in the United States. The house was founded, it's 1859,
I think
right?
so,
yeah,
yeah.
1859. So it's this, like, you know, this venerable...
I think it's around our Civil War.
Yes, exactly. So it's this venerable, you know, old historical wine-growing family and winery, and this is a really fine example of a nice, fresh, fruity with like citrus fruits, lemons, a little bit of, I would say, almond blossom. But
Yeah, let's try it.
Let's taste
so,
that.
Cheers. And cheers to you at home or at work, wherever you are today. That's a really nice wine.
Did I describe that well?
I think so, yeah. This is a really beautiful wine. It's got a great nose on it, too. You get some of that flint, you know. Burgundy was once an underground sea, so as the winemakers are turning over their soil and planting new vines, a lot of times they find oyster shells.
Yeah, there's a lot of oyster shells, so there's a lot of good, there's a lot of calcium that nourishes the vines. So you do get that when people talk about minerality in wine, you're gonna find that in this. But without getting too geeky, basically what everybody wants to know is, what do I eat with this when I open this up?
Right.
So this is a nice kind of fresh, fruity, like I said, citrusy Chardonnay, and this is the kind of thing that goes great with seafood. So one of our suggestions, again, easy weeknight dinner, is shrimp and linguine.
Yeah, how easy is that? I mean, you know, for Valentine's Day, let's face it, if you have to work that day, but you want to cook something for your special boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever, just boil up a pound of pasta, toss it with a little bit of butter and some garlic, saute some shrimp with a little bit of parsley, a little salt and pepper, a little bit of garlic if you like garlic. But remember, if you're putting garlic in it, you both have to eat the garlic, because if there's maybe a kiss or something that comes later, you want to make sure you both had that garlic.
Every kiss begins with puis frisé.
It does?
Yes,
wow,
it does.
Okay. Wow. So, yeah, don't be kissing if you have Gamay. No, I don't think that's... You can kiss if you have Gamay. But puis frisé, really lovely wine, lovely Chardonnay, great wine from Burgundy, and Jadot makes a really, really super puis frisé.
And if you're not a shrimp person, this would go well with basically just about any type of seafood. Actually, I like this with lobster tails.
Yes, with butter.
We're getting fancy there.
I like it with a lobster roll.
But it's also great with simple chicken dishes, like a chicken breast and a salad, that kind of thing. Even roasted chicken. If you do roasted chicken with herbs, it would go with that as well. So again, these are not things that you have to spend all day cooking.
It's only lunchtime and
although
I'm hungry for dinner.
Actually, if I recall correctly, this year Valentine's Day falls on Ash Wednesday. So if you are one of those people who's concerned about not eating meat, there you go. There's your linguine and shrimp.
Linguine and shrimp, that's perfect.
Frisé.
You might want to pass on the chicken. But that said, this is a great, great wine. I really love this wine. And, you know, just the idea of spending a nice romantic Valentine's Day at home. This is a super wine that you can have with somebody you really love, and it's not going to break the bank. You know, it's just a really, really lovely, lovely wine. So I think we'll move down to Meursault, but if you're just joining us now, welcome, first of all. My name is Jeff Jenssen.
I am Mike DeSimone.
So
we are here talking about wine for Valentine's Day, and specifically the wonderful wines of Louis Jadot.
And
were you going to say something?
Obviously I was, but you cut me off, which is kind of normal. That happens every day in my life. But we're the authors of a book called Red Wine, and it just came out right before Christmas this past year, and we're very, very proud of it. So in it we talk about 50 different grapes, actually 43 grapes and 7 styles, but of red wine or blends. And the idea is that we, discuss these grapes, pretty much in detail. We tell you what to pair it with. We talked about Gamay already in the beginning of this program. And we talked about pairing Gamay.
I love how you call this a program.
Well, it is a program. Wow. People are watching. This is all good. So if you are watching out there, you have any questions, don't hesitate to write in. We've got people here in the studio with chalkboards, and we can answer any of your questions. And if the question is simple or you think it's stupid, please ask it anyway. We're not opposed.
Yeah, we're totally and completely approachable, and would love to answer your wine questions, your party questions, your food pairing questions,
even your relationship questions.
I'm staying away from that, man. That's trouble.
Well,
especially the week before Valentine's Day.
I can give you some advice. I'm not sure it's going to be good advice, but I'll give you some advice. So let's talk about a romantic evening at home. Maybe you don't have time to cook. Maybe you just want to spend an hour with that special person that you really love.
And maybe you have a little bit more money to spend.
That's true.
We're going a little higher end here.
So we're going to be tasting right now Louis Jadot Meursault. Meursault is a beautiful little village in Burgundy. And I can tell you that we know this village really well because we went to visit a chateau in Meursault. And then we were riding our bikes to the next village, to Pouligny-Montrachet, and I had gotten a few flats that day on my bicycle. So I had gotten 4 flats, and it turned out that I actually had a spoke sticking through. So let's do the math. I had an extra tube, Mike had an extra tube, that's 2 flats. I had a patch kit, he had a patch kit, that's 4 flats. The 5th flat rendered us kind of dead in the water.
We were not riding our bicycles anymore after that. So we were between Meursault and Pouligny-Montrachet.
And we had already been to Meursault, so we figured let's walk to Pouligny-Montrachet.
So we did press forward and went to Pouligny-Montrachet.
So we visited, they had a town cooperative there where we were able to taste 30, 40, 50 different wines from that region. And it was really a wonderful day. I can tell you very, very honestly that we probably we're not going to ride our bikes, even if we got the flat fixed. We certainly would not drive a car, so we took a taxi back to the hotel. So Meursault is very, near and dear to my heart. I do love this village. They make some wonderful wines. These are some of the best, in my opinion, some of the best expression of Chardonnay grapes that comes from Burgundy.
And I actually, remembering back to that story, if you remember, we did go out to dinner that night.
Yes.
And we did buy a special bottle of wine, which we just found. We're like those people who save wine labels, and we actually found this old wine label book. And if you remember, and I forget the appellation, but we had a Louis Jadot.
It was Louis Jadot.
It was a 1997.
It was a 97 Meursault.
With our dinner, and we had that with Bouffe Bourguignon.
That's right.
That night.
That's right. Meursault is one of those wines that it's a white wine, but it's a very full-bodied white wine. So it could stand up to meat dishes, maybe veal, like a blanquette de veau, or a veal chop. But it goes really, really well with seafood. So if you want to have a romantic evening, maybe with some aphrodisiac foods, for example, like an oyster or caviar. A Meursault might be the way to go. It's not going to break the bank, but it's a little bit more expensive. It's in the $70 range. It's a really stunning, stunning wine, and I can't believe I'm talking about it so much and not drinking it. So I'm going to stop talking and drink some.
A sip of that.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Just the smell on it is beautiful. This is super. The bouquet is really, really beautiful. That brings me back.
I'm actually going to have a little caviar with that.
Oh, that sounds
well.
good.
Yeah,
okay.
Just a little,
I think I'll have some of that too.
One at a time. Somebody's got to talk.
Oh, okay. So how about if I talk while you eat?
There we go.
And then you talk while I'll eat. but I'm going to drink a little bit more. This is really super. If you really want to have one of those really special evenings for Valentine's Day, you know what? And we talked a little bit before about Galentine's Day, having the gamay perhaps. If you happen to be in a position where you want to have a little bit better wine, there's absolutely no reason why you can't open Merceau for your guy and your girlfriends. But I'm going to eat, so you chat.
Okay. So just to, we talked a little bit earlier about the fact that Burgundy is the original home of Chardonnay and of Pinot Noir. And like one of the things that I want to point out is, other than the very entry level, like what we call the Bourgogne Rouge, which does say Pinot Noir on the bottle.
We're going to get there.
You're not going to know on this bottle, if you're a Chardonnay person and you go out to a wine shop and you're looking for a really wonderful Chardonnay, you're not going to know that this is Chardonnay because it says, we have the name of the producer, Louis Jadot, and below that it says Merceau. The wines from Burgundy do not say Chardonnay on the label. They're actually not allowed to by law. You're going to have the name of the village that it comes from, what the French call an appellation. And so this simply says Merceau. Are you double checking that?
Well, I am because,
they're not allowed by law.
I know
except
that,
on
but,
except on the entry level.
But we don't even have a little cheat sheet on the back, so we have to know this stuff. We have a question from one of the viewers.
Shanna F.
Hi, Shanna. How you doing today? So Shanna asks, I heard that if everyone wants to order a different wine, Pinot Noir is something that would work best with a lot of different foods. Do you agree? Yes, Shanna, I do, because Pinot Noir happens to be one of my favorite grapes, and it is a lighter red wine, so it does kind of bridge that gap. So if somebody at the table is having fish, Pinot Noir will go with that fish. And if somebody is having meat, Pinot Noir will go with that meat as well. If somebody at the table was having maybe, wild boar or venison, I would say go with a stronger red wine. But a general question,
Nobody eats wild boar.
Well, most of the restaurants
anyway.
that we go to,
but Pinot Noir, it has very, very light tannins. It actually has a thin skin.
I love venison and wild boar. So sorry.
Some of those qualities you get in wine. When people talk about a wine with a lot of tannins, some of those qualities are actually from thick skins. Pinot Noir has a
You keep talking. I'm going to drink.
You do that.
Cheers.
It has a very thin skin. It has light tannins. So it goes well, besides with the meats that Jeff talked about, it also works really well with seafood. You could actually have like flounder or tuna or sea bass or something like that and have Pinot Noir with that. For example,
Actually,
the Bourgogne
tuna,
Rouge that we're about to move down to, and that would not be a bad pairing. It would work very well.
Actually, tuna, a pan-seared tuna like with a little bit of peppercorn, my go-to wine with that is a Pinot Noir. So, Pinot Noir can kind of bridge that gap, Shanna. Thanks for asking. Are you at work today? If you are, send us a little emoji with the
office building emoji, because I really don't know when to ever use that. It's not. You never want to send some you're like, why would I use that one? But there it is on your phone.
And so. Shanna, if you don't want your boss to know that you're online and not working, we won't tell him or her. We promise.
Maybe Shanna works in wine and is doing research right now.
Maybe she is. Yeah. So. All right. Shanna, if you do work in wine, send us 3 wine glasses, okay? Just so we know. So let's move down. We talked a little bit about Pinot Noir. Shanna asked this question. Let's move down to the next one that we want to talk about. This is a Bourgogne Rouge, a red Burgundy, if you will.
So Bourgogne is French for Burgundy.
Yes, and
the color of my shirt.
Yes, and I have a rosé on today. So I don't think they usually make too many rosés from Pinot Noir. Pinot Noir is relatively expensive.
There is actually, if you recall, we've had it. There's a really good Louis Jadot rosé that we have had.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I'm wearing the color of rosé today. It's February, but God knows it's going to be spring sometime. So we can have a rosé pretty soon. Although I'm one of those people who's kind of agnostic. I'll drink a rosé in the middle of winter time just because it goes with what I'm eating.
And look, it's February, and we're talking about drinking white wines for Valentine's Day.
That's true.
So that old, white in summer or rosé in summer, red in winter doesn't always go.
Exactly. We have another question from Mary Ellen S. Hey, Mary Ellen, how are you today? To me, Valentine's Day is all about dessert. What would you recommend for wine pairing? Well,
you should ask.
We're talking about dessert now, and Valentine's Day to me is chocolate. If you don't have chocolate if you're one of those creme brulee people, good for you. If you're like a fruit tart person, good for you. But dessert, in my book, has to be chocolate. So if you're having just simple chocolate, dark chocolate, we're going to pair this Pinot Noir with some dark chocolate. But if you're going to have just a chocolate dessert, it is Valentine's Day. Why not? And chocolate is also an aphrodisiac. We talked a little bit about aphrodisiac foods earlier.
We talked about the oysters, the caviar,
and now chocolate.
Chocolate is also an aphrodisiac. And I think one of the important things with dessert, if you're trying to pair, especially with a chocolate dessert, is you need to go with a dark chocolate, something that's got 70% cacao. There's a lot of articles. You're all going to be seeing a lot of articles, especially if you're on the Love Jadot page and you follow some of the different wine brands. You're going to be seeing a lot of articles this week about wine and chocolate.
Yes.
Many of those pairings don't make any sense. If you're going with chocolate and red wine, go with dark chocolate because
it works
a milk
better.
Chocolate, something that's lower, that's not what we would call bittersweet. If it's too sweet, they're not going to taste good together.
That's true. And if you do want the medicinal effects of chocolate and aphrodisiac effects, you want a higher percentage of chocolate, or of cacao. So go to your store, look for 70%, 65%, 80%. They tend to be a little bit more bitter, but they really go nicely with red wine.
And even in terms of a dessert that you would pair with a red wine, with this Bourgogne Rouge, I would say to go with one of like a dark chocolate, molten, flourless chocolate cake, as opposed to a chocolate mousse, which is going to be lighter, but also have a lot of cream and a lot more sugar in it.
And if you're going out or you're making your own dessert, like a chocolate sorbet, is really, really nice with a red wine too.
But why make dessert on Valentine's Day when there's all this chocolate in the air?
That's true. So cheers, let's try this
all
wine.
Right,
yeah. So I love this Pinot Noir. It's a really wonderful Pinot Noir. Louis Jadot does super wines at really good prices as well. This one's about $20. I think it's $19.99. And, it's a super example of a Pinot Noir from Burgundy, again, without breaking the bank. So, I haven't even tasted it yet.
I have.
But I'm getting amazing, a nose of black cherry, even cherry cola, for example.
This is that classic Burgundian Pinot Noir.
Yeah,
it's like that trilogy really that we talk about, without getting too geeky with wine tasting notes. This smells like cherry, chocolate, and orange zest.
Yeah, it's got
really
some candied orange zest type aromas. When you go to Burgundy, again, you can have Pinot Noirs from a lot of places around the world. I've had some wonderful ones from New Zealand, from Australia, from California, but again, Burgundy is the birthplace of Pinot Noir. And I believe that the expressions of Burgundy, of Pinot Noir, are best in Burgundy. So, why not go back to the home where these wines come from?
Do we want to get a little wine geeky? Do you want to get a little?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because
you get wine geeky. I'm getting some chocolate.
He'll eat chocolate. I'll get wine geeky. So Pinot Noir actually is named for the grape clusters. Pinot means pine. The grape clusters look like little pine cones. Noir means black, so they're very dark black berries. And people talk about Pinot Noir being difficult to grow. It actually is because they're really tight clusters. So
this is really,
you can
keep
get
talking. This
a lot
is
of
really good.
a lot of different things that can grow on the grapes. Burgundy is a fairly cold weather region, and that's one of the reasons why
don't go there in February.
Right, don't go there in February. But it's the reason why it's really perfect for Pinot Noir, because in warm weather you're a lot more likely that mold and mildew and that kind of stuff is going to grow on the grapes. But because it's cold and even in the summer it gets chilly at night, you don't have a lot of those pests. So it's the perfect region to grow this grape. So Barbara J is asking us.
Hey, Barbara.
I'm making dinner for Valentine's Day.
Wait, I have a Barbara Jenssen. Is that my Aunt Barbara? No, I don't think so. Okay. No, probably not.
She's too old to know how to use Facebook.
I didn't
say that.
She won't be seeing this. Can he say that?
I didn't say that. Right. So Barbara asks, I'm making dinner for Valentine's Day, but I want to use some wine in the recipe too. Any recipe recommendations?
I've got one.
Number one, what would you say?
I'm drinking.
You're like Family Feud. You're like.
Yeah, I got it. I'm drinking Pinot Noir right now, so I love a beef bourguignon made with Pinot Noir. So I firmly believe that if you're going to have a dish and you're going to be cooking with wine in that dish, never use a wine that you wouldn't drink. I mean, that to me is kind of like, why would you put it in the food if you wouldn't drink it? So don't cheap out on the wine. If you're going to make an amazing dish for your family and friends, I mean, who are you cooking for? People you love. So you want to use the same wine that you're drinking, or at least, let's say, for example, if you want to use this Pinot Noir, okay? It's a wonderful Pinot Noir that you can use to cook, and you're only going to use maybe half of the bottle to make something. So you can drink the other half of the bottle, or buy a bottle of Gevrey Chambertin or Pomard or whatever. There's so many different appellations in Burgundy that make so many wonderful, wonderful wines. And one of the reasons that we're so happy to work with Jadot and partner with Jadot today is because they have vineyards in so many places throughout Burgundy. They've got vineyards in all the small little appellations. And these are just some of the wines that we picked today to talk to you about, because they're wonderful wines for your Valentine's Day party, you know, a romantic
simple dinner at home. This more luxurious dinner with chocolate, with dessert. There are a lot of reasons and occasions to drink the wines of Jadot. You don't have to limit it to Valentine's Day. This is one special occasion, but between the Beaujolais, the two different Chardonnays, the Puy-Fuissé and the Meursault, and the Bourgogne Rouge, which is fancy French for red Burgundy.
Red Burgundy.
There's wines here that you could really drink all year.
You know, again, you know, getting together with your family and friends is not limited to Valentine's Day. You know, but the idea is that we kind of want to have just a wonderful experience on Valentine's Day, whether you are with somebody or with your girlfriends or your guy friends, and you just kind of want to hang out. You know, don't ever forget that getting together, opening up a bottle of wine, kind of sitting around that bottle of wine and having nice conversation and really kind of enjoying each other's company is really what drinking wine is about. You know, if you want to just go out with your friends and have a good time and you want to party, drink vodka and tonics or gin and tonics. Those are great, but
grown-ups drink wine.
Well, something about wine, it's a very convivial. So we have time for one more question. And we have Matt D asks, what's your go-to red wine pairing? What's your go-to wine pairing with red mead? Gosh, I have so many, you know. It depends. Like
I'm going to say if we narrow it down, I'm going the Bourgogne Rouge.
Yeah, I'm going to go Bourgogne Rouge. If we're going to have a little bit lighter red meat, maybe a veal chop or something, Gamay would work really well. Pinot Noir from Burgundy, you know, really can go very nicely. If you have a little bit of a budget to work with, go for like a Gevrey Chambertin or a Fissan or a region north or the Côte de Nuit,
a Nuit Saint-Georges.
Or a Nuit Saint-Georges. You know,
those are all Pinot Noirs from Burgundy.
Exactly. And like I said, one of the reasons that we're so happy to work and partner with Jadot on this presentation is because Jadot has properties and vines in all of those little, those areas. If we wanted to show you all of Jadot's portfolio,
we'd be here all day.
It would take all day.
America loves Jadot, and you do too.
Oh, I do. Cheers.
Cheers.